think it's a really fantastic show, and that's why it's number 3. Home movies. This practically was sort of my childhood with a video camera, because this is what I would do. I would put up the video camera, I would tell these stories that, looking at, you've seen some of them, are really silly now, really goofy and stuff, but you're doing it because you have this passion to tell this story and to entertain and to perform. And the show is about these 3 kids that do exactly that. They try to tell these movies, and they're really silly and they're really goofy, but on top of that, it has sort of this Calvin and Hobbes feel to it, which I've never seen a show get. I love Calvin and Hobbes. And there's just this sense that these are they're really smart kids, actually, but they don't really work by the rules at all. They don't do what they're told, and how do I put it? The amount of intelligence that they have is only balanced out by how much they don't have as well. That they really do, that they can be so smart about some things and so clever and so satirical, but then they can also be, just totally miss the idea, totally miss the mark, and be so selfish and self-centered, and just have no idea what they're talking about and just be straight up pretentious. That it's just so enjoyable, and I love watching them, constantly try to balance that out, just that extreme intelligence with extreme stupidity, of being a child, I mean, to be fair, and on top of that, these side characters are great. I really love the mother. The mother's a great character. The coach, good God, is so funny. It's John Benjamin, who I think has one of the funniest voices I've ever heard. I mean, it's not something where you hear it and you say, oh, that's a goofy voice, but just the more you hear this voice, anytime he talks, you just start laughing, because it's just this miserable voice, that just wants everything done his way and doesn't care and just is so lazy, that it's so much fun. It's irresistible. So I really like the voice work on it. And yeah, I don't know what it is. There's just something about this show. It's a very laid-back show. It's from the people that start off doing sort of like Dr. Katz and so forth. It's sort of upped it a little bit. There's more energy in this one, and there's a little bit more of a story in these episodes. But there's just this laid-back energy. It's sort of half-improvised, which is really fun. It sort of makes it... Again, when something's half-improvised and it has that sound, it makes it a tad more unpredictable, and the lines they say are very different from ones that are written. And again, that adds that unpredictability that you don't know what you're going to hear, or you don't know what you're going to hear them say. So I really, really like this show. It just, something about it really hits a note with me. It's another one I can just watch a million times. Never get sick of it. I just love this show. I love these characters. I love the passion and the energy that these characters have. The 3 kids anyway, especially the main kid. And how seriously they want to take things that aren't really seriously, and how not seriously they want to take things that are really serious, So, I really enjoy it. I think it's a great show. And my number 1 favorite show of all time is Daria. I know that's a really weird choice. Not, like I said, I don't think anybody would probably guess it, but... Okay, this show was high school, and some argue it still is high school. Like... I knew everybody in this show. Everybody. I knew Daria. I knew Jane. I knew that jock. I knew that geek. I knew these crazy teachers. Everybody in the show I knew. And on top of that, the issues that they talk about and they tackle, in a funny way most of the time, were real issues that teenagers were handling at that time. There was one episode that was kind of a risky episode where a teenager, the student dies, really tragically, and he was a jerky character. He wasn't very nice to a lot of the other characters, and everybody sort of dislikes him, and then he dies, and nobody knows how to feel about it. That actually happened at my school. There was somebody who died, again, very tragically, and a lot of people didn't like him, and nobody knew how to feel. And they didn't know, should they feel bad that they didn't like him? Should they feel, did I feel good when he died? I mean, is that a horrible thing to think? What's that say about me? And an episode like this really tackled it, and they tackled it so well. And they really talked about, sort of the emotions and the issues, but still in a funny way. They still, acknowledge that this is also tragically kind of funny. And on top of that, some of the complaints that the show gets is that Daria, that monotone, can really get grating, and it's just too much of it. Which is really interesting because at some point she gets a boyfriend, and it's interesting because for males don't like the boyfriend because he's so monotone. A lot of females don't like Daria because she's so monotone. So it must be something about playing to the opposite gender, which I find very fascinating. But I think what's interesting about Daria is that she's not always right. And, you know, this attitude that she has, I mean, she explains in one episode just really beautifully that I know this isn't always the right attitude, but it's what works for me now. It's all I know. And this is what I'm using now. You know, it's not that I'm going to stick by this and this is the right way. It's that this is what I know. And this is what I'm using until I can find something better. But as of now, I haven't found anything better. And I think so much of that is so reflective of just, not just high school, but just people in general, that they will stick, you know, they'll stick to this attitude or this way of living or being because it's all they're familiar with. And, you know, of course she's the hero, you know, she's the person you root for, but it can backfire. And there are times where, I mean, good friends tell her, you know, sometimes you really are missing out on good stuff and a lot of, you know, really great things. But at the same time, you know, she's not bending. She wants to be what she wants to be, you know, and that's what makes the character so likable by so many, because the show was on for a while. And it's probably the smartest MTV show that ever came out. And I got the DVDs, it finally came out on DVD, and I got it last Christmas, and I watched every episode, went through them all. They even had the TV movies on there. Whenever I have a dinner break or a lunch break or so, I pop one in, I just watch it. And out of all those episodes, I think I found 3 I didn't like. And they were all sort of doing something different. One was a musical, one was like her trying to get the holidays back to their land. It was really weird. And the other was something where Jane was dating this guy who had a fascination with 40s fashion. Like, those sound stupid, they are stupid. But every other episode is brilliant. It's gold. It's fantastic. And I love the way the series ends. I love the tone it creates. Like I said, these people, I knew these people. I grew up with these people. I still know some of these people. And what some people, younger people who are in high school have told me is that, because I said, you know, that show really was the 90s growing up. They just caught it while the 90s was going on. And I said, I don't know if that dates it necessarily. And a lot of the people in high school have seen that show said, no, these people are still there. You know, that these are, you know, stereotypes and cutouts and stuff like that are still around. So I think in that respect, it still has that timeless quality. It's certainly dated by the fashions. Actually, what really blew me away is when I saw the sister, which I realized this isn't around anymore, those shirts that shows off the belly button, like, those are gone. Like, when I saw the show, I'm like, oh my god, those aren't around anymore. Those were everywhere. It's like, it's strange when that suddenly hits you, that, you know, wow, okay, this is like sort of a dated piece. But I think what they're talking about and the issues they're tackling are very genuine, and they were happening at that time. It's not something like, okay, this is sort of what I thought The Breakfast Club should have been. I like The Breakfast Club okay, but my problem with The Breakfast Club is that they talk about it like an adult looking back. They don't talk about it like real kids. They talk about it like real kids. They talk about it like they're at the age that they're at. And for a show to capture, you know, a teenage voice like that, because, you know, this has to be written by adults, and this, you know, they're looking back at their generation when they were a teenager, and they managed to capture what they felt with a lot of the fashions, a lot of the trends, and everything that was going on at that time period, and became a very what's the word I'm looking for? It became very modern at that time. It was a very modern show, and it still really holds up, and I think the issues they talk about really hold up, and it's funny, and the characters are great, and it's just, it was my childhood, you know? I shouldn't say childhood, it was my high school years. And a lot of people look fondly in their high school years, and this sort of does too, but it also really mocks it, and it takes a satirical approach, but not straight up, not that, hey, high school sucks. You know, there's good things to it too, you know, but this was sort of the reality of it, and some things are over-exaggerated, but I don't know, especially because if I had to choose someone that I was like in that show, it probably isn't too. It's probably a mix. I wish I was Daria. I wish I could be like that hey, these are my morals, I'm gonna stick with it no matter what. I wasn't, you know, I caved in like any other teenager. If I had to choose, it's probably a mix between Jane, who, whatever, was a straight C student, but was always drawing, always working on something, always had a project. That was very much me. And sadly, that one really nerdy kid, the one who was overly confident and making bad jokes and wouldn't shut the fuck up. So I was probably a mix of those two. You know, and I think that's sort of what's great about that show is that you can point to who you were, and even if it's not one person, you sort of point out as a mix of these two, you know, or a little bit of this person, a little bit of that person. And I don't know, in my opinion, that really captured a voice, and it's a voice that I think is still around. I think is still around high school. I think it's still around in us. And I think it captured it so well. And I'm just rambling now, so that's my all-time favorite show. I really love it. If you haven't seen the show, go check it out. It's fantastic. Those are my top 20 shows, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and hope I didn't ramble on too long. Take care.